The shotgun blast echoed through the oak-paneled study like a thunderclap from hell, shattering the antique mirror above the fireplace and sending shards of silvered glass raining down like brittle tears. Christopher Harlan froze in the doorway, his heart slamming against his ribs, as his father's voice, usually a velvet growl of command, cracked into a raw, guttural scream. "You think you can crawl back here after what you did? After you shamed us all?" Blood trickled from Victor Harlan's temple, not from the blast but from where he'd smashed his fist into the wall moments before. His knuckles raw and his eyes wild with the kind of rage that had built an empire on fear. In that instant, Christopher knew. The family throne he'd fled 5 years ago wasn't just crumbling. It was about to explode, and he was the spark. Christopher's boots crunched over the gravel driveway of Harlan Manor as he backed away from the house, the acrid smell of gunpowder still clinging to his flannel shirt like a bad omen. The old Victorian beast loomed behind him, its turrets piercing the overcast sky of Willow Creek, Pennsylvania, a town where the Harlans had been kings since the coal mines dried up in the 70s. His father, Victor, stood in the doorway, the shotgun dangling loose in his meaty hand, barrel smoking faintly. "Get out, boy, and don't come back till you've remembered whose blood runs in those veins." He didn't run. Not this time. Christopher Harlan had spent half his life running, from the whispers in high school locker rooms about the fairy son of the Harlan dynasty, from the fists of his older brother Marcus that left bruises hidden under long sleeves, from the suffocating expectation that he'd one day inherit the family's web of businesses. The lumber mills that laundered money, the real estate deals that evicted the poor under eminent domain scams, the quiet bribes to county officials that kept the sheriff's office blind. But 5 years ago, at 22, he'd bolted to Pittsburgh, chasing a journalism degree and the faint hope of a life where love didn't come with a side of denial. Now, at 27, he was back. Not for forgiveness, but for reckoning. Willow Creek was dying. Factories shuttered. Kids hooked on opioids peddled by Harlan associates. The river poisoned from illegal dumps his family had orchestrated. And the kicker? Victor was running for mayor again, promising Harlan heritage to a town too scared or broke to question it. Christopher had the proof, tucked in a USB drive in his jacket pocket. Ledgers, emails, photos of midnight payoffs. He'd spent 3 years digging, freelance reporting for indie outlets, piecing together the rot. But coming home meant facing the monster, and the man he'd once called Dad. He slid into his beat-up Ford pickup, the engine coughing to life like an old smoker's hack. The dashboard clock blinked 7:42 p.m., November chill seeping through the cracked window. As he peeled out, tires spitting stones, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Missed you at the diner. Coffee tomorrow? Jason. God, Jason. The one bright spot in this nightmare." They'd reconnected last month when Christopher first scouted the town incognito, bumping into each other at Millie's diner. Jason slinging hash browns with that easy grin, the one that crinkled his hazel eyes and made Christopher's stomach flip like it had back in senior year. Jason Reyes, the Mexican-American kid from the wrong side of the tracks who'd been Christopher's secret summer fling at 18. Stolen kisses in the back of a rusted Chevy by the creek, hands fumbling under starlight, whispers of "I love you" that tasted like freedom and fear. Jason had stayed in Willow Creek, working odd jobs, raising his little sister after their mom OD'd. Steady, kind, the anchor Christopher had cut loose when the Harlan pressure cooker boiled over. "I need you," Christopher typed back, thumbs trembling. "More than coffee." The reply came instant. "Then come over. Doors unlocked. Always has been for you." Christopher's foot eased off the gas. Jason's place was 10 minutes out. A sagging bungalow on Elm Street where the lawns grew wild and the porches sagged under the weight of too many regrets. He shouldn't. One night could unravel everything, expose Jason to the Harlan machine, the threats that came wrapped in silk gloves. But as the manor's lights faded in the rearview, Victor's scream still ringing in his ears, Christopher turned left instead of right, toward the one person who'd ever made him feel like he wasn't poison. The bungalow glowed warm against the dusk, porch light flickering like a hesitant heartbeat. Jason was on the steps, nursing a beer, his broad shoulders hunched in a faded Eagles hoodie. At 28, he looked better than ever, lean muscle from construction gigs, a 5 o'clock shadow that begged to be traced. That same mop of black curls Christopher had tangled his fingers in 1,000 times in dreams. "Heard the shot from here," Jason said, voice low and steady, no judgment. He stood, closing the distance in 2 strides, pulling Christopher into a hug that smelled of sawdust and home. "You okay?" Christopher buried his face in Jason's neck, the sob catching in his throat. "Not even close. But yeah, for now." Inside, the living room was a time capsule. Threadbare couch, Maria Rhea's old Virgin Mary statue on the mantel, a stack of Rosa's schoolbooks on the coffee table, Jason's sister, now 15 and full of fire. They sank onto the couch, beers in hand, the silence stretching like a held breath. Jason's knee brushed Christopher's, electric, familiar. "Why'd you go back there tonight?" Jason asked finally, eyes searching. "After everything." Christopher pulled the USB from his pocket, rolling it between his fingers like a rosary bead. "Because it's time. Victor's announcing his run tomorrow. If he wins, Willow Creek's done. And I can't let him win. Not anymore." Jason's jaw tightened, the scar above his eyebrow. A Harlan Goon special from a bar fight years back. Whitening. "You think exposing them makes you safe? The Harlans don't lose quiet, Chris. They bury." "I know." Christopher's voice cracked. He set the drive down, hand finding Jason's, lacing fingers like puzzle pieces long separated. "But I can't hide forever. And losing you again? That's worse than any bullet." Jason's breath hitched. He leaned in, slow, giving Christopher the out he wouldn't take. Their lips met, soft at first, then hungry, years of pent-up ache pouring out in the press of tongues and the scrape of stubble. Jason tasted like malt and mint, hands roaming under Christopher's shirt, mapping ribs and scars like sacred text. They broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed. "Stay," Jason murmured. "Just tonight. Let me remind you why it's worth fighting for." They made love in the dim glow of the bedside lamp, bodies moving with the rhythm of old lovers rediscovering grace. Jason was gentle where Victor had been brutal, reverent where the world had been cruel. Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled of laundry soap and sweat, Christopher traced the tattoo on Jason's chest. A soaring eagle, inked after their first heartbreak. "I never stopped loving you," he whispered into the dark. Jason's arm tightened around him. "Then don't stop now. But promise me, whatever comes, we face it together." Dawn crept in gray and unforgiving, Rosa's laughter filtering from the kitchen as she fixed cereal. Christopher dressed quietly, the USB await in his pocket. At the door, Jason kissed him fierce. "Town Hall Square, noon. I'll be there." Christopher nodded, stepping into the cold. Willow Creek stirred awake. Pickups rumbling to the mill, church bells tolling for the faithful. He headed to the local Gazette office, a one-man operation run by Edith, a chain-smoking widow who'd mentored him in high school. "Harlan boy's back," she'd say back then, winking over her typewriter. "Gonna stir the pot or sip the tea?" Today it was both. He burst in, coffee sloshing. "Edie, I need space. Front page. All of it." She peered over her bifocals, ash from her cigarette dusting the desk. "Victor'll have my head. Not if I have his first." By 10, the draft was done. Headlines screaming Harlan Empire built on lies. Corruption, kickbacks, and the poisoned creek. Names, dates, dollar amounts irrefutable. Edie hit print, the old press groaning like a beast roused from slumber. Stacks of papers hit the streets by 11. Hawkers on corners yelling the news like prophets. Noon at the Town Hall Square. Victor on a makeshift stage, flanked by Marcus and a gaggle of suited cronies, American flags snapping in the wind. The crowd, farmers and Carhartts, moms with strollers, the elderly clutching Social Security checks, murmured as Victor boomed into the mic. "Willow Creek's ours. Harlan blood. Harlan pride." A ripple spread. Papers passed hand to hand, gasps rising like steam. Victor's face purpled. Lies. Slander from a traitor. Christopher pushed through, heart pounding, Jason's hand brushing his in the throng. A silent vow. He climbed the steps, voice steady. Not lies, Dad. Truth. And I'm running against you. The square erupted. Cheers. Jeers. A bottle shattering against the podium. Victor lunged, but Marcus held him back, eyes promising hell. Christopher met his father's glare. Game's over. As sirens wailed in the distance. Feds tipped off, no doubt. The first crack in the Harlan facade spiderwebbed across the town. But Christopher knew empires didn't fall easy, and love, fragile as it was, might be the only thing keeping him upright. The fallout hit like a nor'easter, whipping Willow Creek into a frenzy that made the old steel mills look tame. By evening, Victor's campaign HQ, a converted barn on the family estate, was swarming with locals turned pitchfork mob, chanting "Truth now," while state troopers cordoned off the drive. Christopher holed up at Jason's, the bungalow's thin walls vibrating with the chaos outside. Rosa, wide-eyed and fierce, paced the kitchen. "You really gonna do this, Chris? Run against the devil himself?" He ruffled her hair, forcing a grin. "Someone's gotta. Might as well be the black sheep." Jason watched from the doorway, arms crossed, his silence heavier than words. When Rosa scampered off to text her friends, spreading the gospel of the Harlan takedown, he pulled Christopher aside. "Feds are sniffing around the mill. Good. But Marcus? He's not the type to wait for warrants." Christopher nodded, the USB now copied to Edie's secure server and a cloud drive only Jason knew the password for. "I know. That's why we lay low. Focus on the campaign." Campaign. The word felt absurd, like calling a bar brawl a duel. But by morning, endorsements trickled in. The teachers' union, pissed about school budget cuts, siphoned to Harlan pockets. The environmental group, armed with water samples proving the creek's arsenic levels. Even Father O'Malley from St. Agnes, who muttered about sins of the father over coffee. Christopher's platform crystallized fast. Clean water, fair jobs, a sheriff who answered to voters, not Victor. They set up shop in the Gazette's back room, Edie barking orders like a drill sergeant. Posters went up, Christopher in a simple button-down, smiling earnest, slogan, "A new creek for all." Jason handled logistics, his construction crew buddies hanging banners, Rosa designing flyers with glittery anti-corruption graphics. Nights blurred into strategy sessions on the bungalow couch. Jason's thigh pressed warm against Christopher's, stolen kisses tasting of takeout pizza and possibility. "You're glowing," Jason said one midnight, as Christopher pored over poll numbers. Miraculously, he was neck and neck with Victor at 45%. "Like you were meant for this." Christopher looked up, vulnerability cracking his resolve. "Scared shitless is more like it. What if I lose? What if I drag you down with me?" Jason cupped his face, thumb brushing the faint scar on his cheek. From a hunting accident Victor orchestrated when he caught them kissing at 17. "You won't. And even if, I'd follow you to Philly or hell. You're my North Star, Chris." The romance reignited in flickers. A handjob in the truck after a rally, urgent and laughing. Slow dances in the kitchen to Springsteen on vinyl, Jason's breath hot on his neck. It was messy, real. LGBT love in a town where rainbow flags were as rare as honest cops. But Jason made it feel sacred, his body a sanctuary, his words a balm. "We're building something here," he'd say, tracing Christopher's collarbone. "Not just a win. Us." Yet shadows lengthened. Marcus started with phone calls. Blocked numbers, heavy breathing, then Victor's voice synthesized. "Drop out or Jason's sister learns what happens to snitches." Christopher changed numbers, installed cameras at the bungalow. Then the vandalism. Fag Mayor spray-painted on his truck, tires slashed. Jason found a Harlan enforcer tailing Rosa from school. A burly guy with a snake tattoo Victor's crew all sported. "We fight fire with fire," Jason growled that night, pacing as Christopher iced a fresh bruise from a random shove at the market. "I got boys who'll—" "No." Christopher grabbed his arm, pulling him close. "That's how they win. We go clean. High road." Jason's eyes flashed hurt, fear, that old fire. "High road got my mom killed. Overdose on their shit pills." The words hung, a ghost in the room. Christopher pulled him down, kisses turning desperate, bodies crashing together on the rug. It was anger-fueled, raw, nails raking backs, gasps muffled in shoulders. Afterward, spent and sticky, Jason whispered, "I can't lose you to this. Promise me you'll watch your back." "Always," Christopher lied, because the truth was heavier. He'd burn it all for this man. The first debate loomed a week out at the high school auditorium. Victor prepped like a warlord, buying airtime on the local radio with threats veiled as ads. "Don't let outsiders destroy our heritage." Christopher countered with town halls, coffee clatches at the diner, Q&A at the VFW, where vets shared tales of Harlan bribes killing benefits. Jason was his rock, handing out flyers, charming skeptics with his quiet charisma, deflecting reporters with a disarming shrug. But betrayal brewed closer. Edie called late one night, voice Ashraf. "Got a tip. Anonymous. Says Marcus is meeting a judge tomorrow. Pay off for tossing your evidence." Christopher's blood iced. "Who tipped?" "Doesn't matter. Go. But take Jason. Back up." Dawn found them staked out in Jason's truck, parked in the fog-shrouded lot behind the courthouse. Marcus arrived in a black Escalade, judge in tow. A paunchy relic named Hargrove, known for Harlan favors. They exchanged envelopes under the sodium lights, words inaudible but gestures damning. Christopher's phone camera captured it all, heart thundering. As Marcus drove off, Jason gripped the wheel white-knuckled. "We got M." "Not yet." Christopher's voice was steel. "Leak it to the Philly Inquirer. Let the big dogs bite." They drove back in silence, tension crackling. At a stoplight, Jason turned, eyes dark. "This is it, huh? The point of no return." Christopher leaned over, kissing him deep, the light turning green unnoticed. "We passed that years ago. Now we just keep driving." The story broke nationally by noon. Small-town dynasty's dirty deal. Protests swelled. The creek ran brown with symbolic dye from activists. Victor's poll numbers tanked to 32%. Desperate whispers of recounts and recounts. But victory tasted bittersweet. That night, as rain lashed the bungalow, a brick crashed through the window. Wrapped in wire, a note. "Your boyfriend's next." Jason bolted the door, shotgun from under the bed. His dad's old Remington. "Pack a bag for Rosa. She's staying with my cousin in Erie till this blows." Christopher protested, but Jason's glare brooked no argument. "Not negotiating. You want to save the town? Start with us." As Rosa's taillights faded into the storm, Christopher pulled Jason close, the world narrowing to this. Two men against the tide. Love a fragile dam holding back the flood. "I love you," he said, simple, true. Jason smiled. Fierce. "Prove it at the debate. Knock 'em dead." The auditorium buzzed electric on debate night. Seats packed with reporters from Pittsburgh, locals clutching Gazette extras. Victor loomed on stage, suit crisp, smile a shark's. Christopher took the podium opposite, notes in hand, Jason in the front row, eyes locked like a lifeline. Moderator: "Mr. Harlan, your family built Willow Creek. How do you respond to allegations of corruption?" Victor's laugh boomed. "Slander from a runaway who prefers distractions over duty." The crowd gasped. Christopher's fists clenched, but he breathed, Jason's nod steadying him. "Duty? Like poisoning the water kids' drink? Or evicting families for your golf course dreams?" "I got the receipts, Dad. And the votes." Questions flew: economy, jobs, rights. Victor hammered heritage. Christopher countered hope. Then the bomb. "And what of your sons? Lifestyle? Can a man like that lead with family values?" The room hushed. Victor smirked. Christopher met his gaze, voice even. "Love isn't a crime. Hiding it is. And Willow Creek deserves leaders who love openly, fight fairly. Not kings who rule from shadows." Applause thundered, drowning Victor's retort. Offstage, Jason beamed, pride raw. But as lights dimmed, a shadow detached from the wings. Marcus, slipping out, phone to ear. Christopher's gut twisted. The real war was just beginning. Election day dawned crisp and brittle. The kind of November morning where frost etched lace on pickup windshields and breath hung like ghosts in the air. Willow Creek's polling stations, firehouse, library, that one-room schoolhouse out on Route 9, hummed with an energy the town hadn't felt since the '08 mill reopening that turned out to be a Harlan bust. Christopher woke in Jason's bed alone, sheets cold where his lover had been. A note on the pillow, at Rose's old school, turning out votes. Come find me after. Yours, Jay. He dressed quick, jeans, flannel over a crisp white shirt, the USB chain now a necklace under his collar, talisman against the fray. Breakfast was black coffee at Millie's, where locals slapped his back and whispered prayers. About time someone grew a pair, old Mr. Kowalski grunted, forking eggs. Edith slid into the booth opposite, cigarette dangling. Polls have you up 52-38. But watch the absentees. Victor's stuffing 'em like turkeys. Christopher nodded, the weight settling. He'd spent the last week in a blur. Door-knocking with Jason, hands brushing in shared exhaustion. Radio spots where his voice cracked on stories of the Creek kids with rashes from tainted water. A viral video of him and Jason at the VFW, arm in arm, calling out no more secrets, for our town or our hearts. The clip exploded online, Creek Rising trending, pulling donations from queer orgs in Philly and New York. It was romantic, sure, them against the machine, but laced with peril. Harlan trolls doxed Jason's job site, cost him a foreman gig. Collateral, Jason shrugged, but his eyes stormed. By noon, Christopher was at the firehouse, shaking hands with first responders. Many Harlan hires, but gratitude won over loyalty when he promised whistleblower protections. A young firefighter, Tommy, pulled him aside. My brother's gay, married in Jersey last year. Your story, it gives us hope. Christopher clapped his shoulder, throat tight. Hope's the only fire that doesn't burn out. Afternoon brought the storm. Marcus's crew circling polls, observers intimidating voters with clipboards and glares. Christopher called the ACLU hotline, live-streaming the bullshit on X. Harlan thugs at play. Your vote matters. Views spiked, feds dispatched. But the real gut punch came at 3 p.m. A call from the Inquirer. Your brother's confessing. Immunity deal. Says you fabricated half the evidence. Bullshit. Christopher's world tilted. Marcus, big brother, tormentor, the one who'd covered for him once, sneaking him cash to flee to pit. Betrayal sliced deeper than any threat. He raced to Jason at the schoolhouse, finding him amid a knot of excited teens, handing out stickers. We got a problem. Jason's face hardened as Christopher spilled it. Immunity? That rat's selling you out to save his ass. Worse, if it sticks, the whole case crumbles. Christopher's voice broke, the square's energy mocking him outside. Families voting, kids waving signs. Chris for Creek. Jason pulled him into the empty gym, doors thudding shut. Then we pivot. Your story's real. People's lives. That's evidence enough. They kissed then, fierce, affirming, Jason's hands framing Christopher's face like fragile china. You're not alone, he murmured against lips. Never were. Reinvigorated, they hit the streets tandem. Christopher rallying at the diner, Jason charming the holdouts. Dusk fell golden, polls closing at 8. Watch party at the VFW, beers flowing, nerves electric. Edie chain-smoked in the corner, Rosa live-tweeting from her phone. Jason's arm around Christopher's waist, a quiet anchor amid the roar. Returns trickled. Precinct 1, Harlan 60-40. Groans. Precinct 2, Christopher 55-45. Cheers. By 10 p.m., it was razor-thin, 48%-47%. Absentees pending. Victor called, voice oily through the speakerphone. Edie patched in, concede, son, or I bury you both. Christopher hit mute, turning to Jason. Fuck him. 11:15. The room hushed as the moderator's voice crackled from the TV. With 98% in, Christopher Harlan takes Willow Creek mayoral race, 51%-49%. Pandemonium. Hugs, tears, backslaps. Jason lifted him off his feet, kissed salty with sweat and joy. You did it. We did it. But euphoria cracked at midnight. State police raided Harlan Manor. Victor in cuffs, bellowing obscenities. Marcus led out meek, deal in hand. Christopher watched the feed on his phone, Jason's hand in his. It's over. Not yet. Jason's whisper was grim. They slipped out, driving to the creek's edge. The poisoned vein of it all, moon-silvered and still. One more loose end. They met Tommy the firefighter there with a duffel. Soil samples, water tests, witness affidavits from ex-Harlan hands flipping under pressure. For the trials, Tommy said. Make it stick. Dawn broke as they parted. Christopher's victory speech at 6 a.m. Promising transparency, jobs, love without shame. The town gathered. Hungover but hopeful. Jason in the front, eyes shining. Weeks blurred. Transition meetings, budget overhauls. The creek cleanup funded by seized Harlan assets. Romance deepened. Lazy Sundays in bed. Jason's head on Christopher's chest. Planning a commitment ceremony at the VFW. Rings next summer. Jason teased, fingers intertwined. But Victor's trial loomed. Spring 2026. Subpoenas arrived. Christopher to testify, Jason too, as a witness to threats. Marcus's betrayal unfurled in depositions. He'd planted doubts, leaked fakes, all for a reduced sentence. Family first. He'd sneered in a jailhouse call Christopher ignored. The night before court, they drove to Pittsburgh, neutral ground, a hotel overlooking the Allegheny. Dinner at a queer-friendly bistro. Steak for Jason, pasta for Christopher, wine loosening tongues. Back in the room, lovemaking was slow, worshipful. Jason on top, eyes locked, bodies sinking like they'd never parted. Marry me, Jason gasped post-climax. Half-joking, ringless finger-tracing Christopher's. Thought you'd never ask. Laughter bubbled, tears following. Vulnerability cracked open. Christopher's fears of inadequacy, Jason's of loss. We're enough, they vowed, tangled and true. Court opened brutal. Victor's lawyers painting Christopher as vengeful, disgraced, for his lifestyle. Exhibits flashed. Blurry photos of him and Jason at rallies, twisted into scandal. Jason testified first, steady. Threats came from Harlan men. I saw the bruises on Chris. Heard the calls. Cross-exam. Mr. Reyes, isn't it true you're motivated by a grudge? After your mother's issues with Harlan Pharmaceuticals. Jason's jaw set. My mom's death was their poison. But Chris? He's the antidote. Christopher's turn. The stand a crucible, voice unwavering as he laid out ledgers, dumps, bribes. Victor glowered from the defense table, a caged lion. Liar, he mouthed. Closing arguments peaked emotional. DA invoking justice for the silenced. Defense tradition under siege. Jury out 3 days. Christopher and Jason holed up at the bungalow. Rosa baking anxiety cookies. Edie smuggling bourbon. Verdict. Guilty on all counts. Racketeering, environmental crimes, intimidation. Victor sentenced to 25, Marcus 15. The gavel fell like liberation. Outside, press swarmed. Christopher clutched Jason's hand, raising it high. For Willow Creek. For us. But as cheers faded, a shadow lingered. Victor's parting shot in court, whispered to his lawyer, relayed anonymous. Blood always calls. Nights grew restless. Jason thrashed in sleep, murmuring warnings. Christopher woke to anonymous texts. You won the town. Lose the war? One humid July eve, post-rally for creek restoration, they walked the square, hand in hand, unashamed. Fireflies danced, kids splashing in the now clear shallows. This is it, Christopher said. The life we dreamed. Jason kissed his temple. Ours. Then the shot sharp from the alley shadows. Jason crumpled, blood blooming dark on his shirt. Not arterial, but enough to terrify. Christopher screamed, cradling him, sirens wailing distant. Stay with me. God, please. Jason's eyes fluttered, hand pressing Christopher's. Love. You. Always. Our lights harsh, surgeons grim. Bullet grazed the lung. Clean miss of vitals, but infection loomed. Christopher paced, Rosa sobbing in his arms, Edie chain smoking in the hall. Hours later, he's stable. Lucky. Lucky. The word soured. Police nabbed the shooter, a Harlan remnant, low-level thug with Victor's snake tat. But the message landed. Empires echoed. Recovery was hell. Jason bedbound, Christopher Marangi by day, nursing by night. Whispers of PTSD, therapy sessions where Jason admitted, I thought I'd lost you forever. Can't do that again. We adapt, Christopher soothed, feeding him soup, kisses light. Romance shifted, tender, resilient. Fall brought harvest festivals, their first public date as fiancés. Rings exchanged under oak trees, town toasting with cider. Yet doubt gnawed. Marcus's appeal hearing neared, whispers of witness tampering. Christopher fortified, security details, encrypted comms. Jason healed, scars fading to pink lines, spirit unbroken. We're unbreakable, he'd say, pulling Christopher close. Winter solstice. A quiet ceremony at St. Agnes, Father O'Malley officiating, Rosa flower girl. Vows simple. In sickness, in shadows, I choose you. Rings glinted, gold bands etched with creek waves. Honeymoon in the Poconos. Cabin by a frozen lake, fireside sex slow and deep, world reduced to skin and size. This is human, Jason murmured, tracing Christopher's jaw. Flawed, fierce hours. Back in Willow Creek, renewal bloomed. Solar farm on Old Harlan land, youth center with queer programming, the creek teeming with trout again. Victor rotted in Supermax, letters unopened. Marcus's appeal denied. But humanity's arc bent slow. One spring dawn, a letter arrived, postmarked prison. Victor's scrawl, proud, son. Finally, Christopher burned it, ashes to the wind. With Jason's hand in his, he stepped into the mayor's office, ready for whatever came. Love wasn't the absence of storm, it was dancing in the rain. Spring thawed Willow Creek like a reluctant lover, mud sucking at tires and hope greening the hillsides, but the scars of winter lingered in the quiet ways. Jason's limp from the shooting, a nerve tweak the doc said would fade, turned every step into a reminder, his laughter a touch forced when Christopher caught him wincing. Just the weather, he'd wave off, but nights brought tremors. Sweat-soaked sheets, Jason bolting upright from dreams of alleys and echoes. Therapy helped. Group sessions at the new community center, where queer vets and survivors swapped war stories over bad coffee. Christopher joined once, sitting silent as Jason shared. Bullet missed my heart, but fear, that lodged deep. Christopher held his hand under the table, thumb circling knuckles. We'll dig it out. Together. Mayoral duties piled like cordwood. Ribbon cuttings for the solar array, Harlan land reborn as green gold. Budget fights with holdout counselors still whispering, Fairy Mayor. Press junkets to Harrisburg pitching Willow Creek as a model for Rust Belt revival. Jason thrived in the rebuild. Foreman on the creek restoration. Barking orders at crews in his Eagles hoodie. Curls sweat damp under hard hats. Their mornings synced. Coffee on the bungalow porch, upgraded with bulletproof glass. A grim joke they towed around. Jason sketching site plans while Christopher scanned briefs. Romance wove through the grind. Picnics by the now pristine creek, where they'd skinny dip at dusk, water cool against sun-warm skin. Slow grinds in the truck after late shifts, windows fogged, Jason's moans muffled in Christopher's neck. It was domestic bliss laced with edge. Security cams blinking red. Anonymous tips to the sheriff. Now a reform pick. No Harlan strings. Paranoia's the new foreplay. Jason quipped one night, post-orgasm glow fading to scan the treeline. Yet joy rooted deep. Rosa's Sweet 16. A bash at the VFW. Piñata bursting candy like confetti. Jason dancing with her to Bad Bunny. Christopher twirling them both till cheeks hurt from grinning. Edie gifted a leather-bound journal. For the sequel to your exposé. Her cough worsening, but spirit iron. Town's breathing again, kid. You did that. Summer swelled humid, festivals pulsing. Pride Willow, first ever, rainbow flags snapping beside the stars and stripes, drag queens lip-syncing Gaga on the square stage. Christopher and Jason emceed, hands linked, announcing grants for LGBTQ plus youth housing. The crowd, diverse now, transplants from Philly mixing with locals, roared approval. Backstage, Jason pinned him to a prop wall, kiss hungry. You're sexy as hell up there, power suit and all. Christopher grinned, hands sliding under Jason's tank. Jealous? Or turned on? Both. Always. They stole away to the green room, quick and breathless. Jason on knees, worshipful, Christopher's fingers in curls, gasps echoing off cinderblock. After zipping up, Jason's eyes softened. This? Us. It's the revolution. But autumn winds carried rot. Marcus's prison stint ended early. Good behavior, the system's wink, and rumors swirled. He'd lawyered up, sniffing a civil suit against Christopher for defamation. Victor's appeals exhausted, but his network festered. Ex-associates peddling influence from dive bars. Whispers of vote buying in the next council race. Christopher doubled security, Jason insisting on concealed carry. Not living scared, but not stupid. The betrayal deepened at Thanksgiving. Family dinner, ironic, with Rose's boyfriend's folks joining. A blended brood of tacos and turkey. Midway, Jason's phone buzzed. A text from an old crew buddy. Marcus at the mill. Meeting snakes. Watch your hub. Christopher's fork clattered. We go. Now. They drove silent, Jason's pistol in the glove box, headlights cutting fog. The old Harlan lumber mill loomed derelict, windows shattered like broken promises. Shadows shifted inside. Marcus's voice booming. Chris thinks he won? We'll bleed the town dry. Start with his pretty boys' contracts. Jason's grip whitened. Son of a... Christopher laid a hand on his thigh. Record it. No guns. They crept close, phone mic catching snippets. Payoffs planned, sabotage on the solar farm. Marcus laughed, cold. Dad's rotting cause of him. Family payback. Enough. Christopher burst in, light flooding the gloom. Payback? Or just more crime? Marcus whirled. Goons freezing. 4 burly relics, snake tats curling. Little brother. Come to gloat. To warn. Christopher's voice echoed. Steady. Feds are listening. Drop it, Mark. Before you dig deeper. A goon lunged. Fist cocked. But Jason was faster. Pistol drawn. Stance cop show perfect. Back off. Or I drop you legal. Tension crackled. Marcus sneered. Soft. Both of you. Hiding behind badges and bedsheets. Christopher stepped forward. Heart aching for the brother he'd idolized once. Hiding? I'm out here building. You're chasing ghosts. Let it go. Marcus's eyes flickered. Regret? Rage? He waved the goons down. Get out. All of ya. Alone brothers faced off. Why, Mark? Immunity wasn't enough. Marcus sagged against a beam, dust motes swirling. Dad's legacy. Thought I was saving it. But you broke the chain. Chose truth over tyranny. Christopher softened. Come clean. Testify. Redeem. Silence stretched. Then Marcus nodded. Faint. Maybe. For Mom's sake. They left him there, mill fading in the mirror. Back home. Adrenaline crashed into catharsis. Jason shoving Christopher against the door, kisses bruising, clothes shedding in a trail to bed. It was reclaiming. Jason topping fierce, hips snapping, Christopher arching with cries of, yes, God, yes. Climax shattered them, afterglow sticky with sweat and sobs. I almost pulled the trigger, Jason confessed later, head on Christopher's chest. But you didn't. That's us better. Winter gripped again, Marcus's flip a bombshell. Full confession to the DA, naming holdouts in the council. Arrests followed, Willow Creek purging like a fever dream. Christopher's approval soared. Time profiled him as the mayor who came out swinging. But fame's glare scorched. Paparazzi camped the bungalow. Tabloids twisting their marriage into soap opera. Gay mayor's steamy secrets? Jason hated it, retreating to work sites, but Christopher pulled him to galas. Human rights campaign dinner in D.C., tuxes starched, dancing to jazz under chandeliers. "You're my +1 forever," he'd murmur, waltzing close. One night, post-event, hotel suite overlooking the Potomac. Candlelight dinner room served, Jason in silk boxers, Christopher feeding him strawberries. Lovemaking unfolded languid, mutual, exploratory, fingers and tongues mapping every inch, laughter bubbling when tickles turned to gasps. "Human," Jason echoed their honeymoon vow, coming undone slow. Spring 2027. Re-election loomed, unopposed till a wild card emerged. Elena Voss, a slick consultant from Victor's old Rolodex, promising Harlan-free progress with teeth. Campaign turned vicious. Ads dredging Christopher's instability. Anonymous leaks of Jason's therapy notes. "Fight dirty," Jason snarled at strategy huddle. "We go dirtier, truth." They hit back. Town halls unfiltered, Jason co-hosting, sharing his shooting scar as badge. This is what they fear. Love that endures. Polls flipped. Voss dropped out, endorsing with gritted teeth. Election night. Landslide. 68%. Victory lap at the square. Jason's kiss under fireworks. Smoke and sparks mirroring their spark. But as confetti rained, a courier arrived. Victor's last appeal denied. Health failing. Parole? Denied. Christopher visited the prison alone. Fluorescent hell. Victor, gaunt. Oxygen mask fogging. Rasped. "Hate me? Missed you," Christopher admitted. "The man, not the monster." Victor's hand trembled through bars. "Proud. Ruined it all. But you fixed it." Tears fell. Forgiveness? Not quite. But humanity, yes. Summer wedding anniversary. Vow renewal at the creek. Barefoot in linen. Rosa officiating with giggles. Guests, Edie wheezing vows. Tommy toasting. Circled as they exchanged bands anew. Night fell intimate. Tent by water, Jason's body arching under stars. Christopher's name a prayer on lips. Yet fall brought the call. Victor dead, heart attack in his cell. No service. Ashes scattered by state. Christopher mourned quiet, Jason holding space. "Grief's human," he said. "Let it." Through it, their love deepened, counseling strengthening bonds. Date nights at Millie's evolving to travels. Road trip to New Orleans, jazz clubs and beignet, hotel romps with bourbon breath. Back home, legacy grew, Willow Creek Arts Fest, queer lit readings. Jason's firm booming, green builds. One crisp October eve, walking the square, now Pride Plaza, they paused at the plaque. "To truth and the creek that runs clear." Jason knelt, sudden. "Marry me again? Here." Christopher laughed, pulling him up. "Every day." Kiss sealed it, passers-by cheering. No empires left to topple. Just them, building heaven from hell's rubble. Years folded Willow Creek like origami, creasing old wounds into patterns of grace. The Harlan name now a cautionary footnote in high school civics. By 2030, Christopher, 32, mayor in his second term, woke to the scent of Jason's pancakes. Sunlight slanting through kitchen windows upgraded with smart glass that frosted on command. The bungalow had evolved. Addition for Rose's college visits, she at Pitt, pre-law firebrand, home office with Creekview desk. A backyard deck for barbecues where Edie's ghost lingered in the wind chimes she'd left before succumbing to lung cancer in 28. "Keep stirring." Her last note read. Christopher did. Jason, 33, stirred batter shirtless, tattoo inked deeper with creek blue accents, his limp a faint echo. "Big day," he said, flipping a flapjack. "Council vote on the expansion." Christopher wrapped arms around him from behind, chin on shoulder, hands splaying possessive over abs. "Nervous? Or just hot?" Jason chuckled, turning for a syrup-sweet kiss. "Both. But with you, unstoppable." Their morning ritual. Sex in the shower, water cascading as Jason pressed Christopher against tile. Slow thrusts building to shared release, steam erasing the world. Breakfast followed, news over coffee. Jason's leg hooked, round Christopher's under the table. Domesticity, hard won. The solar farm expansion. A mega project, turning Harlan Blight into jobs for 500, half-union, half-green apprenticeships for at-risk youth. Council chambers buzzed, holdouts from the old guard fidgeting, but endorsements from state reps and the EPA sealed it. Christopher's speech. Willow Creek rises not on blood, but on borrowed light. Let's shine. Vote. Unanimous. Post-meeting, Jason waited in the hall, pulling him into a utility closet for a victory grope. Handsy. Giggling. Later, Mr. Mayor. Lunch at Millie's, now queer-owned, rainbow neon in the window, where they debriefed over Rubens, Jason's foot-teasing calf. Afternoons blurred. Christopher at ribbon cuttings, Jason on site, evenings sinking, dinner preps, calls with Rosa, her boyfriend a soft-spoken engineer. Wedding bells hinted. Romance kept flame. Date nights at the drive-in, making out like teens. Anniversary trips to the Keys, snorkeling coral reefs, beach sex under palms, Jason's whispers of forever against saltskin. But humanity's underbelly stirred. 2031. A Harlan cousin surfaced. Distant, slick, running for council on a Restore Heritage ticket, dredging ghosts. Whispers of old networks reforming, anonymous funds from shadowy PACs. Christopher's camp dug. Ties to Victor's prison pals, laundered through shell core. Jason spotted it first, over beers at the VFW. Smells like Marcus 2.0. Or worse. Christopher's gut nodded. Marcus himself, out on parole in 29, low-key mechanic in Erie, called that weak voice gravel. Cuz's bad news. Using Dad's playbook. Want me to handle? No. Christopher firm. We win clean. But thanks for trying. Marcus paused. Redemption's slow. Keep fighting. Campaign season ignited. Debates in the square. Flyers papering polls. Cousin Harlan, slick-haired Vance, hammered woke overkill, ads splicing Christopher's pride speeches with crime stats juiced on opioids, legacy Harlan poison. Jason co-campaigned, town halls electric. I took a bullet for this town. For love. Don't let fear rewrite our story. Pushback peaked. Vandalism on the solar farm. Wires cut. Panels smashed. Arson suspected. Feds investigated. Vance denied, but polls tightened. One rainy October night, post-rally, they drove home fog-blind. Headlights caught a figure in the road, Vance's goon, tire iron raised. Jason swerved, truck fishtailing into ditch. Adrenaline surged. Christopher lunging out, tackling the thug, fists flying till sirens wailed. Jason, pistol drawn, covered. Enough! R again. Stitches for Christopher's brow, bruises for Jason's ribs. Vance arrested. Conspiracy charges, his pack crumbling under audits. Sloppy. Jason winced, ice packed aside. Like they forgot we learned. Trial swift. Vance guilty, 5 years. Marcus testified, clean, composed, earning a nod from Christopher post-verdict. Brother, he said, tentative handshake. Welcome back. Thanksgiving that year. Full table. Rosa and her fiancé. Marcus tentative with pie. Toasts to new chapters. Laughter healed. Tentative. Winter brought quiet victories. Solar farm humming, powering half the county. Willow Creek pried a regional draw, Jason emceeing with flair. Their love matured. Less fire, more ember. Lazy Sundays reading in bed, Jason's head in lap. Therapy check-ins, unpacking scars into strengths. Spring 2032. Rosa's wedding, Christopher walking her down aisle, Jason best man with a wink. Vows echoed theirs, enduring human. Honeymoon gift, a cabin in the Adirondacks, where they hiked trails, made love by firelight, Jason's fingers tracing Christopher's graying temples. Silver fox, he teased. Still yours. Summer solstice. Town picnic at the creek. Now a park with benches etched donor names. Christopher spoke. From poison to paradise. Thanks to you. All of you. Jason pulled him aside to their spot. The willow where they'd first kissed as kids. And us. Kiss deepened. Timeless. Fireflies witnessed. Fall elections. Christopher unopposed. Vance's shadow dust. Legacy solidified. Scholarships in Edie's name. Queer elder housing. The Creek Estate Preserve. One December Eve. Snow blanketing the square. They walked arm in arm to the plaque. Jason stopped, breath clouding. Kids? Ever think? Christopher's heart stuttered. Talked in whispers, fostering maybe surrogacy dreams. With you? Yeah. Jason knelt again, this time with a keychain, tiny house charm. Start small. Our home, our family. Tears froze on lashes. Yes. New Year's. Party at the VFW. Countdown to midnight. As ball dropped, Jason kissed him fierce, crowd roaring. To us, the story that keeps writing. Dawn found them tangled, world hushed. Willow Creek slept, renewed. No thrones left, just two men. Flawed, fierce, ruling hearts. Human after all. In the end, the town wasn't saved by heroes, but by love's quiet rebellion. A gay son who stood tall. A partner who held steady. A community that chose light. And in that choice, grace.